Okay, well, hello everyone. I don't know if we have to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think it depends where you are on the planet. But I would like to welcome you all to the last seminar of our spring seminar series on cycling policies, and that the UVEMA has organized in collaboration with the Cycliste Internationale, the UCI. You may remember that we started the semester with the case of Seville in Spain. Then we moved in April to Paris and Île-de-France, and to reach the Netherlands and the history of Dutch cycling policy in May. And today, we will hear about the UCI Bike City Label with the example of the city of Wollongong, Australia. So that means that we are going to be very close to Lausanne, as the UCI is located in Aigle, which is not very far away from here, but we're going very far away, down under, as we say it, I think, to Australia. And just a few words of explanation and of introduction. The city of Wollongong received the UCI Bike City Label in February 2021. And this label is awarded annually by the UCI to cities and regions which host UCI World Championships and World Cups, but cities and regions that also develop programs and infrastructures to strengthen the everyday use of the bicycle. And since receiving the label, the city of Wollongong has been actively developing and implementing a series of Cycling for All initiatives that will lead up to the UCI Road World Championships this September. So we have the pleasure to welcome three speakers today. First, it's Isabella Burczak. She is the Advocacy and Development Manager at the UCI. In Aigle, and she oversees the development of strategies to ensure that elite cycling, elite sports cycling can drive and inspire wider participation in cycling. And then we'll have two guests from Wollongong. I'm happy to welcome Greg Doyle, who works for the Wollongong City Council, and Mark Sleigh, who works for the destination Wollongong. So thanks to all three speakers for having accepted our invitation. And to the audience, you may use the chat to add the comments, questions, and we'll gather the questions and we'll ask them to our three speakers after their presentation. The floor is yours. And I think that, Isabella, you can start sharing your screen.
Great. Thank you very much, Patrick, for the introduction, and really happy to be here. And the UCI is very pleased to be able to partner with UVEMA on this series of conferences. I won't take too much of your time because I do want to give the floor to the Wollongong team. But first, just to give a quick overview of the UCI and of the Bike City Label. For those that don't know the UCI, we're just down the road from Lausanne, or down the lake rather. It's the world governing body for cycling. We have 201 national federations, and what is often overseen is that on top of governing the sport, we also work on promoting cycling as a form of transport and as a leisure activity, and that we do under the Cycling for All program that we run. And just to highlight maybe some of the key focus areas when it comes to Cycling for All within the UCI, one is making sure that we are able to promote the transport side of cycling. So we know that cycling is one of the best means forward when it comes to climate change, when it comes to keeping the population healthy. So it's making sure that the UCI works on promoting cycling as a sustainable, healthy, accessible form of transport. And that we do through various programs, partnerships, events, and really make sure that we're involved on the transport and active mobility front. Another key aspect is working with different organizations around the world when it comes to promoting cycling. So whether it's the European Cyclist Federation or People for Bikes in the US, or different national federations as well, it's making sure that we all work together to promote cycling and the benefits that it brings. Another key point is making sure that we help our 201 national federations to also be able to promote cycling for all. So developing tools, developing guidance, making sure that they know how they can move forward with the Cycling for All agenda. And then finally, it's linking the elite side of the sport with the everyday side and linking the sport and transport. And this is where the Bike City label comes in terms of making that link between a sporting event and the wider impact you can have on a population. So if I go specifically to the Bike City label, was created or relaunched rather in 2016. And the goal of the Bike City label is to reward cities that host UCI World Championships, World Cups, but that also have very clear, comprehensive and developed plans to promote cycling amongst the population. What this allows us to do is ensure that there's very much an impactful and wide-ranging legacy as well for the cities and regions that host cycling events. In terms of the current network, we have, at this stage, we have 20 cities and regions within 13 different countries across 4 continents. So we were absolutely delighted to welcome the Wollongong team to the network in 2021, our only bike city on the continent as well. So very excited to have them here to share their experience with you. When it comes to the label, you might ask, how do you get the label? It's really very much based on 2 different pillars. So one is the sport side, so hosting World Championships, World Cups. But then the second aspect is promoting cycling for all and the development of cycling amongst all segments of the population. And that is based on 8 different criteria, which goes from a long-term strategy, ensuring that there's funding and political support as well, developing infrastructures for bikes, and also a plan to increase those, increasing the modal share for cycling, working on road safety programs, making sure roads are safer for cyclists, hosting mass participation events, organizing children's cycling education, and finally measuring and monitoring all of that. So labels are awarded based on these different criteria, and then we are able to follow up with the different cities when it comes to the delivery of these projects. In terms of a long-term vision, what we would like to have, as I said, the network is growing. We have new cities and regions every year, is really to create a globally recognized network of UCI bike cities and regions that can really make that link between sport, transport, and the everyday side of cycling, and have an impact on all segments of the population, no matter age, no matter level of fitness, or the type of cycling that people do. In terms of how we work with the label and what we can bring to the cities, just wanted to highlight a few examples here. So one is making sure that we can actually promote a city, promote it as a bike-friendly destination, but also highlight the different programs and initiatives that they're taking. And here we have an example with that with Wollongong today. We also put together knowledge exchange forums, make sure we can bring the cities together. We do this once a year as well in person at the UCI Mobility and Bike City Forum. So here you have a picture of one of our last workshops. And then finally, it's also an opportunity for some of the cities to partner on wider campaigns, on projects led by partners. And one of these projects, as I can share as an example, is the ITDP Cycling Cities campaign, which Glasgow joined last year. And just to close, just before I hand it off to Wollongong, I wanted to just do a quick plug for World Bicycle Day tomorrow. As you all know, the 3rd of June is World Bicycle Day. So just wanted to mention that we'll be hosting a full range of activities at the UCI World Cycling Centre tomorrow. We'll have free initiations, BMX, track. We'll have activities for children, lots of stuff happening here tomorrow, also a lunch ride. So if you're interested, we do have all of the information on our platform. We just wanted to share that for anyone looking to celebrate World Bicycle Day on a bike tomorrow. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to the Wollongong team that will be able to share their experience with you.
Thanks, Isabella. And as we were introduced, Mark Sleigh and I are riding tandem tonight, which is lunchtime your time. And what we'll do today is attempt to give you a bit of an insight on what the world's greatest secret is, which is the finest city, the finest bike city in the world. We just wanted to add that, Isabella, and I know there's probably a copyright that we're not allowed to. So I'm just going to share a screen, if that's okay. And play. So just before Mark and I kick off, what we just want to do is acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we meet with you today, which is Doyle land, which is a really important week for us. It's Reconciliation Week. So not only is it World Bicycle Day tomorrow, but we are also acknowledging and celebrating the contribution of the Indigenous people of Australia, the First Nations, our Aboriginal people, the Doyle people. So Mark and I just wanted to acknowledge as well the traditional owners as well. And what we just thought we'd do is just kick off with a little bit of a video just to give you a little bit of a feel and a taste in terms of just how significantly the bike city is to us, but also a little bit about Wollongong itself.
The UCI set in train an exciting chain of events when they entrusted the 2022 UCI Road World Championships to Wollongong in New South Wales, Australia. Wollongong is a place redefining itself, where the breathtaking landscape was made for riding, and where cycling has become the emblem of a lifestyle revolution. A symbol of the city's unique positive energy. And it's that positive energy in all its forms that will fuel a new kind of Road World Championships. A groundbreaking promotion of women's cycling. A world-leading showcase for sustainability. Never before seen technology. An unforgettable, immersive 8-day citywide celebration. A place-shaping event in the Southern Hemisphere's only UCI Bike City at a defining moment in its history. It's an exhilarating combination for the future of Wollongong and for cycling in Australia, across Oceania, into Asia and around the world.
What a spectacular victory!
Get ready for the ride of your life.
So what Mark and I wanted to do this evening is just share with you our journey in terms of becoming a bike city, and then also talk about just the incredible benefits that are coming already and the real excitement that we have of being part of the UCI, the broader Bike City network, and also each of you today. So Mark, is there anything you want to add to that?
Need to get off on mute. I think the really amazing thing for us has been the start of the journey, and I think the really unique opportunity to be a UCI Bike City 18 months before the actual event came to town, and the opportunity that has given us to engage the community at so many different levels. And I think that's been the amazing opportunity, and where we've seen so much engagement and so much potential for the UCI Bike City label moving forward. So we're incredibly excited that in September this year, there's going to be an elite race, our Olympic moment, we call it, down here in Wollongong, and we can't wait to experience that. But post the actual event, I think the really exciting thing for the community down here has been a change in mentality and the opportunity to embrace cycling in a way that we never would have seen it happen before. So all credit to council for the work that they've done in developing the infrastructure side of that, and also the commitment to engaging with every single person in the community to explain how cycling can make a really positive benefit to all of our lives on a daily basis.
And I think the key part for us is partnerships. And again, it's something that we want to explore a little bit further, and definitely as part of the journey we're on. To be completely honest with you, we're very late bloomers to bike riding and cycling, and also acknowledging the importance of cycling as well. And I suppose from my perspective and Mark's perspective, in terms of becoming partners and business partners and leaders in the city, it's been a critical piece of the puzzle for us, because the city made some investment around 30 years ago, but we don't traditionally benefit from your own cities in terms of the planning that's been undertaking, the design and the retrofitting of your cities in regards to providing a higher importance or hierarchy for cycling. So it'd be fair to say that the Wollongong cycling strategy of 2030, even in 2 years, has significantly evolved, which is really quite exciting. And we've had to, because we're about to host the World. But in light of that, I think what we're doing, and this is what Bike City enables you to do, is to do it your way. So it has the eccentricities or the local elements that are very important for you to be able to express. And this is exactly what Isabella said, and this is what the UCI has demonstrated to us. So I suppose that, you know, each of you comes from a very different sphere, different part, whether that be from a research and academia perspective or a practice perspective. And this is what being part of Bike City is giving us exposure to, and ultimately, I suppose, something that we're really quite excited about. So we've got an ambitious program, and we'll just talk you through that a little bit now. So the cycling strategy, it'd be fair to say, has jettisoned us. We had a bike plan. It was more a traditional, very much infrastructure-led approach. And what you'll see is, as we go through that, over the next 10 years, there's been a real strong commitment towards working with not only other levels of government, but community, as Mark has said. Mark, did you want to just share a little bit about that community engagement?
I think the big piece of the Bike City puzzle for us was about how it's not hard to explain to the cycling fraternity why bringing a UCI Bike City event to Wollongong is pretty extraordinary. I guess what we set out to do through the Bike City opportunity, given that we had 18 months lead time, was to engage with the people who weren't so intrinsically linked to cycling from the start. So I guess we'll just jump into it, Greg, and we'll leave the back slides for another day, eh? But I guess we're coming off a pretty low base. What we tried to do was educate as many people as possible the benefits of the Bike City and how they could best engage. We developed a bike-friendly business program that the UCI and Isabella, thank you, was heavily involved in. And that was an education piece to show as many businesses as possible in town how they were really, they were going to benefit from the bike-friendly program. And that, I guess, with a European base, that might not make as much sense as it does down here in Australia. But I guess down here, cycling businesses think they're in a bike-friendly business, whereas a cafe doesn't necessarily understand how they can benefit from it and the small tweaks they can make to their business to make it more bike-friendly. So we've set out to develop a bike-friendly business program, which is a simple accreditation process where businesses self-accredit. But then we also take the opportunity to take a cycling expert from the local cycling fraternity out to that business to talk to them about how they can better benefit from cycling as we move forward. And we started off a very low base 3 months ago. We now have 88 businesses accredited, and we're looking to have 200 businesses accredited by September. And it's been a really important piece of the puzzle of bringing the community on that journey. So a couple of other. Do you want to jump back in, Greg?
Yeah. Basically, you know, as Mark has said, coming from a very low base, one of the things for us was to have targets, and they needed to be locally focused. And that program, I suppose, when you look at our targets, you might think, well, they're not very ambitious, but we've come from a from a very heavy reliance on cars, vehicles here. Our geographical, hopefully you'll get a chance to visit us, but the geography and the topography of the city is that we are very narrow built, and you would have seen that in some of the videos. And that has then, due to some of the local community and suburban development and city development, has meant that there's long stretches of coastline that people need to travel. So what we're looking to do is retrofit the entire city and again, prioritise cycling, not only from an investment perspective, so nearly $50 million over the next 3 years for cycling, which is a significant injection of funds into our program, but to actually ensure that we're able to shift the dial on a range of these. So COVID, from our perspective, and the explosion of e-bikes has really jettisoned, and we've got a number of people that are more now actively involved in that. So, you know, as Mark has discussed, we've got the cycling strategy, which was a really key piece. And that's really about making sure that we've got a safe environment for people to ride in. And also from a cultural perspective, make sure that other users of the road understand that cyclists have every right to be there, and they have every right to be in a safe environment as well. A lot of the information and research that we collected was that an impediment to taking out your bike from the shed, say for instance, or buying or acquiring a cycle, was that people just didn't feel safe in the environment. So that's been very much a focus for us as well around those programs. And I think that's the work that you've also seen, Mark, in engaging with a range of different communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two big takeouts off that slide for me, and probably the thing we don't touch on, is the tourism aspect as well. And being the only UCI bike city in the Southern Hemisphere gives us a very unique positioning statement, both nationally and internationally in many respects. We'll have a really unique piece of legacy infrastructure when the UCI Road World Championships comes here in September, and people will want to come. And there's some really iconic pieces of that course that people will want to see. And you would have seen the bridge very briefly in that course, but the sight of the cyclists coming down and actually meeting the Seacliff Bridge through those two main races on Saturday and Sunday is going to be absolutely stunning, and telecast will go all around the world. And for us, it's a really unique positioning statement to say that this is a pretty amazing piece of the world, and to bring people here for not only cycling, while cycling is a really important part of what we'll be doing, but putting us on the world map in a way that we never could have done before, and something that we very much appreciate.
Yeah, and a piece of that puzzle, as we touched on before, was about attracting the cautious and vulnerable cyclists, the community that are really interested in, and making sure that we have an all accessibility focus. So for us, it's very much about ensuring that anyone can cycle. So we've had significantly underrepresentation of women, children, people with the disability, and from that perspective, we've also made sure that programs that we're focused on. So we've partnered with Oz Cycling to establish a program that's very much around safe schools access and getting more school children onto bikes. We've also focused on the fact that it's about equity and access. So it's about ensuring that anyone in the community, irrespective of what suburb you live in, can get access to the cycle network, which wasn't always the case. Maybe in some other cities, other suburbs with a higher socioeconomic background had access to better infrastructure, and that's definitely not our focus. Our focus has been very much around looking at investing in those suburbs where there's underrepresentation of cycling, but also where there's a perception that those people can't access bikes. So, you know, and I don't know, Mark, you might want to talk a little bit about Cringilla Hills.
Yeah, so, well, two great projects I'd mention in that space, and with our community engagement work, we've developed a range of 34 partners across the city who come from a range of organisations that never had anything to do with cycling before, and allowing as many people as possible to get on a bike has been one of those priorities. We had a fantastic example the other day. Disability Trust, which is a local disability provider, has opened a cyclability program, which currently caters to about 80 people in the local region. It allows all abilities to be able to get on a bike and be able to enjoy an event. And The largest mass participation cycling event in Australia is the MS to Gong event. It's been going from Sydney to the Gong for the last 40 years. Through the Community Partnerships Program, MS invited the Disability Trust to develop an All Abilities ride, which went off about four weeks ago, which was the first of its kind locally, and it allowed all abilities to be involved in a race that, generally speaking, is a 120-kilometre event from Sydney to Wollongong. This was a shorter 5-kilometre event to allow absolutely everybody to get involved. And one of the great takeouts of that event for me was some community kids just jumping on the back of the actual thing and saying, can we have a part of it? And the Disability Trust engaging. So we had these community kids rolling down the road with a whole heap of all abilities people having a great time, high-fiving and just enjoying cycling and being out and about in the natural outdoors. And to me, that was what the Bike City program is all about. It was about engaging. It was about everybody having the opportunity to be part of it. And it was a great example of the Community Partnerships program through the Bike City, bringing people together in Wollongong and getting them on a cycle. And I thought that was a great example. The other one that I just mentioned quickly is a program that we've been working on. And as Greg said, Council's done a great job in developing our first community bike park at Cringilla. It's in the middle of our steelworks, which is traditionally the economic front of the city, but it's also in some respects a slightly underprivileged area in many ways as well. And through the Cringilla Bike Park, we've developed a program called Recycle the Gong, where a group of community organisations have come together to take bikes that would otherwise end up as landfill in many respects or in the tip and not be used appropriately, and do them up and repurpose them to people who otherwise wouldn't be able to get on a bike and enjoy it with their friends. So Cringilla Bike Park's been the catalyst and inspiration for that program, but it's another example of local community organisations coming together who wouldn't normally have engaged in the cycling space, but working together to develop programs so that everyone gets an opportunity to be part of this amazing opportunity for the city.
And as historically an industrial city that's contributed very importantly to the GDP of the nation, one of the things that we focused on is leadership around environment, which is an ironic element for us because historically we hadn't been seen that way. So the city of Wollongong has a zero net emissions target of 0 by 2030. And one of the key pieces of that puzzle is we're really driving sustainability. And we think as a bike city, there's a really key piece to this, which is about everything from getting people quite simply onto bikes and out of cars, but then also about the componentry, the elements of how bikes are made and even down to hydrogen steel, which is a significant investment that that one of the major steel makers in the world who is hosted in our city is currently looking at. So we're looking at this very holistically from an environmental sustainability and accessibility and equity of access point of view, and a health and wellbeing perspective, where we believe as a city we can lower a whole range of different issues for us, including diabetes, and then also the issue of just having people move from an active and a health prevention perspective as well. So from those medical economics perspective, it's an area of research that we're really interested in. The key piece to the puzzle for us is to embed this in our mainstream planning, and rather than see cycling as this in addition to what we do. So on the screen at the moment, I just wanted to show you this, a very simple schematic which ensures that the councillors, the government, the community, the partners can see that right through from our strategic plan as a city, right through to our annual plan, which is our delivery plan and our investment plan, they can see. But measurement is a key piece, and I suppose from a research community, it's something that we really want to continue to tap into. So we're currently working with big data and open data with 2 universities here domestically, but we see incredible opportunities around the use of smart technology. And we'll talk a little bit in a minute about what we're proposing to do. The next element, I suppose there's 3 pieces to the puzzle for us, was UCI coming here and providing this amazing gift to Australia. It comes with a legacy plan, and what you can see in terms of the themes that are currently on the screen is alignment to our cycling strategy. And that's a really key piece. If I can provide any advice to anybody, particularly, I know it sounds ironic as a late bloomer to cycling as a city, but it's really important to ensure that each of those areas is represented, and measurement is the key, and delivery. I've got an eye on the time. I suppose Mark's spoken a little bit about Bike City and then also working with Isabella and the team at UCI about the universal adaptability of it. But bike-friendly businesses, Mark, are a key piece also to our nighttime economy and our activation.
Yeah, I think, we've spoken about it a little bit, but, I think from an environment that's not traditionally cycling, just educating that every business and every person can actually benefit from this has been really important to us. So something as simple as the bike decal, and, whilst there's businesses in town and cycling businesses who will implement infrastructure, and we've already seen that, and hotels putting in infrastructure to support cycle visitors as we go forward. It's also as simple as a mentality and education and getting people to know that if someone wants to run in with their bike and grab a quick bottle of water while they're on their ride, that's okay, and support it and be part of it. And those conversations have been really interesting, but really engaged. And I think there's certainly for a city that's not traditionally a cycling city, making people understand the importance of it has been such a big thing. And it's going to have knock-on effects. It's already having knock-on effects with the way that the community integrates, not just with the event, but as we move forward and the investment that council's made. So that, I guess it's as simple as a sticker and a certificate in some respects externally, but people who come here will see that we do understand it, and we hope we understand it more than other Australian cities, and we hope that we continue to improve that education and engagement over the coming years as we move forward.
Linked to that, and it's a piece of work that Mark has really driven for us, and one of the things on our journey is about big data and open data. So we're very fortunate to have SMART, which is a business unit of the University of Wollongong here, and what we're looking to do is again play catch up. So again, many of your cities, many of your towns and villages may already be collecting a dashboard of information, and what we're looking to do is launch this and make this available to the community so they can see where we're headed on the journey. They can also see how many people are using and unique users are using particular pathways. From a business perspective, we want this to translate into where, from an advanced manufacturing perspective, can this city position itself around cycling componentry or around exercise science or the health and wellbeing element as well, and research, medical research. So what you'll see also here is I suppose from our perspective, are many gaps. We're really looking to engage with you, and this is what the Bike City community enables us to do. Even though we might be globally on the bottom of the world, what it gives us a chance to do is be exposed to your experience, your practice, your research, and wherever we can continue to improve and evolve. This is an important piece for us in being part of that community, because we don't necessarily believe that we have all the answers, but we obviously have a commitment and a desire to again jettison ourselves into a place where anybody, anytime can go cycling. But in the end, basically all the positive outcomes and benefits to general community exist. So with an eye on the time, Patrick, we'll probably just wind up. Mark, any closing comments from yourself?
I was just going to say on the dashboard, it's that what you see in front of you is a static interpretation of a whole heap of metrics that we've been working on across the city. And our intention in the next month, hopefully, is to turn that live. And it'll be in some respects, some of the metrics will be static and they'll be updated on a quarterly basis. Some may also be live so that we're actually seeing the benefits that cycling's bringing to us in real time. And I think for our local community and for our stakeholders locally, being able to provide a return on investment on the money that's going into all of the work that's going in to the Bike City program is so important. And being able to interpret it in an innovative way was really important to us as the City of Innovation in Wollongong. And we're really looking forward to sharing that with the broader Bike City community in the very near future.
So last things I just wanted to say is thank you again to Isabella and the UCI community in particular. And Patrick, thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak with an audience that we wouldn't normally get the exposure to. So we're very pleased. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks to to Isabella, to Greg, and to Mark for the presentation. It addresses an important topic, that is how to connect sport cycling and utility cycling.